Third hour of the program on the radio side, NBC Sports Radio, Hour 2 here on NBCSN. Hello to our friends in Great Britain on Sky Sports USA. We are in Kansas City, Missouri in advance of Saturday's Colts-Chiefs game. And the Colts have a lot of great stories. I don't want to get so caught up in the Chiefs because we're here in Kansas City.
Yeah, I got you.
The Colts have been a great story this year. They started 1-5. They've turned it around in large part because of their first-year head coach, Frank Reich, the guy who wasn't even interviewed until after Josh McDaniels left the Colts at the altar following Super Bowl 52. Frank Reich got his start in coaching late. He was an intern with our Tony Dungy.
That's right.
And Coach Dungy went to Indianapolis this week to talk to Frank Reich. Here's a little about what Frank Reich had to say regarding his aggressive nature as a head coach.
Now, watching that in the Kansas City offense, if I was in your chair, I'd be saying, hey, we've got to control the ball and keep them off the field. I don't sense you feel that way.
No, I don't think I really.
That's not your mindset as a play caller.
That's not the mindset. Now, I don't mind if it plays out that way, but our mindset is to score every time we touch the ball. You know, with the quarterback that we have and the skill guys that we have and the guys up front, that's the way we approach it.
So you're going to be aggressive?
We're going to be aggressive and let it rip. I mean, we know this team scores points. I mean, I'm confident our defense is going to play well. We're going to go out there and try to score.
That's Frank Reich with Tony Dungy. You'll see the full interview on the pregame show tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC, a full 90 minutes. And look, on one hand, I hear what Frank Reich has to say about being aggressive, and I think, well, maybe he's just bluffing. But then I think that's the attitude that his players love. It dates back to the overtime game against the Texans.
Yep.
We criticized Frank Reich for going for the win, not settling for the tie.
Right, when he was trying to instill how to win a game.
And it worked.
It did. It worked.
It didn't
exactly
work
right.
that day,
right.
but it worked the rest of the way.
Yeah, exactly right. And again, I don't expect the Colts to change their game plan. I mean, I hear you. You know, it is dangerous, right, when we talk about, okay, you want to get in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes and company. But I think that at the end of the day, when they evaluate Kansas City throughout the week, they go, I mean, we're just crazy if we don't attack a defense that's giving up 273 yards a game in pass yards. It's the second worst in all of football, and you have an Andrew Luck. So they're going to be, I think, still play with the same formula we've really seen them play throughout the stretch. It's going to be probably about 60-40 pass. You can never just go, oh, it's all pass, and they'll have some timely run calls, and that's the beauty of Frank Reich's offense, I really think. It's so aggressive down the field, like an Andy Reid and a Patrick Mahomes, and trying to find big pass plays there, but he does have some great creative run designs as well that I got to give Dave DeGilmo, their offensive line. He's a guy that was in New England that took over for Dante Scarnecchia.
You've been practicing that name.
Man, I think I still butchered it.
I think you did.
I did.
Even this is a practice. You need to practice more.
I do. But he is a very good offensive line coach. And the one thing I look at them every week is go, ooh, they always have a few wrinkles in their run game that I go, that's a very creative way to block this play or whatever it may be. But I expect this to be points on the board. And the Colts, the biggest thing I think for them more than anything is handling those opening emotions of this football game. We know that stadium is going to be on fire, and they haven't seen an offense like this all year. You look through the Colts' history, we talked about it in the first hour, there's no high-powered offense this Colts has had to defend all year. When I say that, I mean great scheme with talent and offensive line that's able to pass protect like Kansas City, and I think we're going to see a high-scoring, fun game like we saw when it was Trent Green versus Peyton Manning back in the day, where it's just up and down the field, and you know who can make that big play on defense to kind of swing the pendulum.
Yeah, that was a playoff game, very, very nice. That was a playoff game here at Arrowhead Stadium within the past 15 years. The Colts have won as many postseason games at Arrowhead Stadium as the Chiefs have all
crazy.
time.
That really is.
2-2.
Yep.
So that one is going to be broken on Saturday. And I think the Chiefs overall are the better team, but the Colts are dangerous. They were 9-1 down the stretch in the regular season. They went to Houston and won convincingly over the Texans. Now, it was 21-0, and then it kind of tailed off after that, but I still think the Colts right now, everything Frank Reich has done, everything Chris Ballard, the GM, has done, it is magical, it is special. Remember when Chris Ballard told us back at the league meetings, it's going to take a couple of drafts to turn it around? Yeah, it's turned around.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what his follow-up is after a draft last year that brought Quentin Nelson round 1, Darius Leonard round 2.
Braden Smith in round 2 as well.
But you got all pros, all-pro teammates in the first 2 rounds of the draft.
I know.
And they'll just get better and better and better. They got the cap space if they want to go out and make a big splash.
That's right.
I don't think they should pursue Le'Veon Bell. That's just an example of the kind of name. If they want to,
yes,
they have the luxury to do it. And you're going to be wanting to be careful not to screw up the chemistry of your team.
I agree.
That's going to be part of the challenge when you can add these pieces. Who do we add? Who do we resist? And the Colts, I think the arrow is pointing up. And this is a team right now that really any of the teams in the AFC can get to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Any of them. In the NFC, I feel like it's tilted toward the Saints.
Sure.
But any of the remaining 4 AFC teams, you can make a very compelling case that they're going to win the next 2 games and get to the Super Bowl.
Agreed. I mean, I would not be shocked if the 2 underdogs won the football games this weekend, and we were, watching the Colts and Chargers play
in
each
LA.
other. In LA.
In a 27,000-seat stadium.
Which would be crazy. I mean, the optics with that would be interesting to see.
They should just move the game to the Coliseum if it comes to that, but they won't. I was told weeks ago, if the Chargers host the AFC Championship game, it will be at their stadium. It won't move to the Coliseum.
Okay, good. I wouldn't want them to move to the Coliseum. Play with where you've been all year long. But you got to give credit to the Colts in so many different areas. I mean, first of all, Chris Ballard, like you were saying, just so impressive what he did. Finding like some hidden gems within there too. I think that's the thing I really look at. And then Frank Reich. I mean, a guy that I've crossed paths with a few times in my life. He is such an impressive guy. He's got a great demeanor about him. It's this calmness, but yet there's this great confidence in him when you talk to him. And I think he's brought that to their football team and this fearlessness factor that they have shown to where, oh, okay, hey, we're 1-5. We don't care. We're just going to continue to keep, chopping away here. And they have caught fire. And Andrew Luck is playing phenomenal football. And they are certainly dangerous as far as beating the Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's assume the Patriots win on Sunday.
Right.
And that's not an easy assumption.
No, it's not. No.
But I'm thinking about the storylines that would go into the AFC Championship game. Coming here to face the Chiefs, right? They'd have to go on the road. Or having the Colts come back 4 years after the Deflategate game, after the Josh McDaniels jilting the Colts, Frank Reich taking over. There is no bad AFC Championship
No, there is
game
not.
based upon how this plays out. But if the Patriots make it, you're going to have great storylines coming out of either potential opponent, and we'll know going into Sunday who the Patriots would be playing if they do hold serve at home against the Chargers.
Yeah, that's right. I would not be disappointed in seeing really any matchup that in either conference. I mean, I do think we've gotten down to the best 8 teams in football. It took the Eagles a little while to finally get there because we saw moments of, like early on in the year, but they found ways to ruin games and mess things up to where they really got behind the 8 ball and had to struggle to get in. But, I am fascinated.
I'm throwing the challenge flag on you to use one of your sayings.
Right.
Because you said all year how good the Steelers are.
Right.
That the Steelers are one of the best teams in football.
I do think that.
It's their own fault they're not playing this weekend.
Yes, you're right. I think like the Steelers were one of those teams where I looked at them and said, if they got in the playoffs, watch out. And I wouldn't have been shocked if we saw them in the AFC Championship game. So, you're no doubt about that. But I think the matchup I'm most intrigued to see, just as a true football fan, would be New England having to come here into Kansas City and that rematch of the game we saw earlier this year, but now it's in Kansas City's home turf, and watching Patrick Mahomes, the new versus the old, and Brady and Mahomes. I think there's some fascinating storylines there.
There was a trend for years where the 1 seed and the 2 seed was about a 50-50 proposition of losing in that divisional round for a variety of reasons. The bye week, maybe coasting down the stretch.
Definitely.
A lot of momentum for the team that won in the wild card round. In recent years, it's been 1 seeds and 2 seeds that advance. So it's looking like, for now, I mean, if that holds, we're going to have the 2 conference championship games that we hoped for, that we assumed we'd get. Chiefs, Patriots rematch, Saints, Rams rematch.
Yes.
But I have a feeling one of those 2 is going to get disrupted.
Something's
maybe
going to get messed up. Yeah, I mean, it does seem that way. That would probably be too perfect for the football gods to really feel good about that. But either way, I don't think we're going to see any bad matchups next week, whether it's NFC or AFC. And, hey, with the Indianapolis Colts and the Kansas City Chiefs matchup, we've talked a lot about a lot of things that we're excited to see. Can that pass rush for the Chiefs get home against that Colts offensive line? And can the Chiefs secondary slow down the Colts passing game and their big pass plays, because they've been pretty underwhelming the whole year long? And then how is Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, how are they going to play with the week off, playoff? Andy Reid with a week off. We know how special he is. There's so many different things and different angles you can talk about in this game.
But I remember one of your big talking points going into the Colts-Texans game, that the Colts offensive line is good enough to neutralize the pass rush of the Texans.
Yes.
And then The back end, not good enough to cover the T.Y. Hiltons of the world. It's the same thing here.
Same
problem.
You're exactly right. And that's really going to be the big thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. Houston, Ford, Chris Jones, they were all almost in double-digit sacks. I mean, Justin Houston was the only one, and I think he had 9.5 sacks. So this is one of the best pass rushers in football. This is going to be very loud. They're going to get a little head start when the ball is snapped because of the crowd noise. And on the other side of the ball, too, hey, the Colts defense, it's sound, it plays well. We know that. But this is a different animal. They haven't seen anything like this all year long. And I would expect, hey, we always talk about Andy Reid off bye weeks, right, Mike, and how awesome he is throughout his career, whether it was Philadelphia or Kansas City, with winning those games off a bye week. I think we're going to see some things brought out in the pass game schematically, and we're going to go, oh, wow, that was a cool little wrinkle he added in for the game.
Before we take a break, there's a factor that we need to consider. It's the weather.
Yes.
2 to 5 inches of snow. Now, the snow is supposed to end before kickoff, but I'm looking at wind speeds around 10 or 11 miles per hour. Wind chill in the mid-20s. Will you go hat and gloves, or are you going to? I heard like at the Notre Dame games, you'd have your hat and your gloves on, and then when it's time to do your spot, you take them off and act like you're a tough guy in the cold, and then you put them all back on.
I don't try to act like a tough guy. I'm a tough guy. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I did. I tried to do that. I don't know. I probably won't wear a hat for the TV segments. I don't always love that, but I will have some gloves on that cold.
Who does it benefit? The cold,
that's
the wind,
the big question.
If it's wet, if the field, they'll have the field covered, but the wind and the cold is going to be a factor. Is that a Chiefs benefit, or is that a Colts as a
I know.
I
look at the Colts though and go, well, at least they have a power running game they could rely on if it got nasty, and they can do that. That's where I maybe look at the advantage. Now, Kansas City has a very good offensive line. We just know they don't love to run the football. You think about the quarterbacks too, and you hear about the wind. For all those that are out there, wind stinks for a quarterback. I'd almost rather play in a little like rain or something like that, because wind, you have to adjust how you throw the ball at times. Where you go, oh wait, we're in the wind, or there's a sideway wind. I got to place this ball here and play the wind to take it almost to a degree. But I think these are two quarterbacks that will not be affected by the wind, Mike, because they are spiral throwers that have great arms, and I think they'll be able to throw through the wind for the most part and not be affected by that in the pass game.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.